You're good to go. We're live.
Thank you, Chris. We'll call to order the July meeting of the Westfield Redevelopment Commission. First order of business is to declare a quorum. So, David, are you taking a roll call here?
Sure can. Joe Plankus,
Here.
John Dart,
Here.
Larry Kemper,
Here.
Brian Pulowski.
Here.
And we are missing Brian Tomamichael. We do have a quorum. Next step is Pledge of Allegiance, folks. If you stand, please. Oh, and Mike Steele is here also. I'm sorry. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes for our June 17th, 2024 meeting. Any comments or questions or modifications for the minutes? Seeing none, I'm open for a motion for approval.
Motion to approve the minutes from the June 17th RDC meeting.
Okay, motion made by John Dart. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Brian Pulowski.
Only one
Thank you,
Brian today, so this will be very easy.
Joe Plankus,
Aye?
John Dart,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulowski.
Okay, we have approval of the minutes. Next item on the agenda is approval of the RDC Executive Session Memorandum. Do we have any questions or comments on the memorandum? Not open for a motion for approval.
Motion to approve the executive session memorandum.
Okay, approval, motion by John Dart, so I have a second.
Second.
Brian Pulowski, second. Thank you, Brian. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. David?
Joe Plankus,
Aye?
John Dart,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulowski.
Aye.
Okay, next item on the agenda are financial matters. Clerk Treasurer's Report. Janelle, do you want to handle this one, if you would, please?
Yes, Marla provided an updated version of the Clerk Treasurer's Report. You can see the format here on the screen. And I would like to suggest in future reports that we better clarify the June disbursements, that those are taxes that are received by the Redevelopment Commission.
After I spoke with you, Janelle, I did call Marla. She agreed it will be revised.
Great.
I also asked her to work with you for any of the other columns that need to get tweaked. Obviously, the June receipts would only be coming to us once a year. There'll be
Correct.
another set of receipts in December. So, that column could be fluid if we want to add anything else to show the cash going in and out in a little different fashions. A lot of time there's issues with the invoices and the timing of them. So that's something, if you would just work with Marla on that'd be great. She was more than happy to do that. And I
Wonderful.
told her I appreciated the fact that she's gotten this far and made these improvements. It really does help
Yes.
get a better vision of what's going on.
So could we have a little bit better explanation?
Yes, so
Yep.
we have now, let me increase the size of this a bit. So we've added some additional columns, I should say she has added some additional columns across the top of this report. So we have the May balance, May 31 fund report balance. June disbursements, as I said, is actually income because that is the tax disbursements that are received by the RDC. Investment balance, I'd like for her to explain next time she's at a meeting how she's tracking the investment balance, just so that we have a clear understanding of how the finances are working on this. And then we have our outgoing expenditures, which often is debt payments. We also have receipts that show up on claims that are for invoices. The detail of this should all be available on the claims report. And then this gives us our end balance for June.
Now, I did.
Hi, everybody.
Oh, hi, Marla.
Here.
Hi,
Sorry.
Marla.
Hi. And I apologize, didn't mean to interrupt, but did want to let you know, I'd like you guys to consider, after speaking with Mr. Plankus earlier today, I talked to my staff to determine how we could make this look better for you. And we're proposing perhaps moving our claims dates so that the end date on the claims coincide with when I'm preparing these reports, which is at the end of every month. And that way we'd really be able to reconcile like June invoices against actual expenditures. And so I have a proposal for you. I thought maybe I'd speak with Director Fairman offline about this, but just kind of wanted to throw it out to you to let you know I am thinking about improvements that can be made. The investments are essentially what you see. We invest it in one lump sum, though those are broken out for us on an internal perspective so that we know at the end of the year how to reassign, or at the end of an investment period, however we want that done, we would be able to assign that back to the appropriate TIF, which is why they're in whole numbers and $100,000 units of investment. But at any rate, the two annual monthly expenditures, I assumed perhaps you would ask me about the two larger ones. In East Side TIF, which is 301, there was a bond payment made. The remainder went to Wallach, Summers, and Haas for their claims. And then in 309 with Eagletown, that solely was the principal and interest payment again on a bond. So if you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I really look forward to your feedback and had a really nice conversation with Mr. Plankus today. And I'm just wanting to get what it is that you guys want to your satisfaction.
Since we spoke, Marla, a couple things crossed my mind is the interest income, which obviously it's not a disbursement or a tax revenue source. It's interest, and that should maybe be detailed, let's say, below the chart, as well as the detail on the bond payments and some of those, rather than having to thumb through all of the claims sheets to see exactly where they went and try to come up with a balance number that matches the one that you have, for instance, for 301. That would be helpful.
I think,
That may be a little bit more difficult to do. However, as for the interest on the investments, under June disbursements where you see it says 23,120, that was just the interest made in that investment period in the month of June. And so it's really a running balance since we began investing money on behalf of the RDC. We have not broken that back out, nor would we typically on a monthly basis. I'm thinking it'd be more something at the end of the year. But if you want that done, we can do that.
To me, I guess end of the year is probably fine. It's not a big number, although it's obviously substantial, but I think for splitting it up and then coming up with a year-end balance, that would be fine. And I'll refer back to Janelle.
Yeah, Marla, I'd be happy to have further conversations on changes to this. I do appreciate the additional detail. Thank you so much for making the updates.
Yeah, my pleasure. You guys have a great evening, and thanks for your time.
hey, Marla?
John Dart's got a question.
yes,
Marla.
John?
Yeah.
Yeah, Marla, what's the difference between the column that says May 2024 and May 31 fund report balance? Is that a beginning of month and an end of month?
Well, because this was a new report, in my mind, it seemed like it would be clear to say the first May column was what matched your last report that I gave you. So that 6.9 million was exactly what you saw in the last report. But the true ending balance was after you guys had approved your claims. So I just needed a starting point. So I chose May 31st because we had some accounts payable still that were coming up that had to be subtracted, as well as claims that were paid after your May meeting, but before the 31st, if that makes sense. So you wouldn't necessarily see that duplicated column going forward. It's just with any new report, for clarity, I wanted And I apologize if it wasn't as clear to you as it was in my own mind. But so that was the May 31st fund balance report.
Okay, something that would benefit, I think, the commission here is just a summary at the bottom of this page that talks about the activity that took place in the last 30 days. I think it would prevent a lot of questions from coming back to you, individual questions, and we all need to hear the same information. So if Joe's talking to you, that's great, but the rest of us need to hear it as well. So maybe just some bullet points at the bottom that say, here's what's different from prior month. We dispersed.
Yeah, and I think you're right. As we continue to kind of fine tune this report, my goal is that it would all be explained in numbers, and so there really wouldn't be any questions. But in kind of revision, it was difficult to explain, and he offered some feedback. And again, I'm totally open to all of your suggestions, and will heed yours. So I think if I make any larger changes going forward, I'll be sure to do that for you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Marla.
Of course. Thanks again, and great evening to you all.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item
All right,
on the,
bye-bye.
next item on the agenda are the claims for July 15th. Do we have any questions or comments on claims? Okay, hearing none, I'm open for a motion for approval of the claims for July 15th.
Motion to approve claims for July 15th, 2024.
Okay, motion by John Dark. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Ryan Polowski is the second. David, please take the roll.
Joe Plankis,
Aye?
John Dart,
Yes.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulaski.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Next item is ratification of Grand Park agreements. Matthew?
Good evening, Commission members. Matt Trinian on behalf of Grand Park. Before you this evening are several agreements that are up for ratification, several addendums, a few event contracts, and then a few sponsorship. Do apologize for this getting out a little late last week as I was out, but Rachel did send it out, and I am not aware of any questions, but happy to take any that you may have at this time.
Okay, I looked it over. I didn't see anything glaring that stood out, Matthew. So any questions for Matthew on the ratification items? If not, open for motion for approval.
Maybe just one, I'm just curious, historically, is the Meyer one new, given their proximity?
This is
Or they're having-
this is actually a repeat, so they're now, this is a renewal. So we had an existing agreement with them, came to term, and now it's a renewal. So this is a second portion of that. So excited to have them back on board.
Okay, don't leave yet, Matthew. I got a question for you after we
All
take the
good.
vote.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Brian Pawlowski, motion for approval. Do I have a second? Second. Second by Larry. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. David?
Joe Plankis,
Aye?
John Dart,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulaski.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Motion passes 4-0. Thank you. Matthew, before you leave, question for you. Maybe give us a brief update on Colts Camp.
Yeah, excited to have Colts Camp start. The first practice is a week from this Thursday. We'll have 12 practices in total. The campus is in full transformation mode, going from our typical operation into Colts Camp. Encourage you guys to come out and take a look at one of the 12 practices. If you want a little behind-the-scenes tour, I'd be happy to give that to you guys, but excited to have them back. This will be the 6th camp we're operating. This will also be the 6th time we'll have an opposing team coming into camp, so a lot of buzz around those final 2 practices, which will be against the Cardinals. But the team is well prepared, and we're excited to have Colts fans back in Westfield.
I'm excited to have Richardson back.
Yeah, absolutely. Things are going well, though. We're excited. Let's just keep the
Great.
weather away. So
Yep. Okay, thank you, man.
awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is a report from Bondry for the spring TIF settlement. Oscar, good evening.
Thank you, Council President. For the record, Oscar Gutierrez, Municipal Advisor to the Redevelopment Commission. The report you see before you is just a spot check so that we can compare where we compare where the redevelopment commission was going to land to what it actually came in. Most of the projections were, within a 90% accuracy of either slightly below or slightly over, with the exception of Aurora. That $99,000 difference is primarily the result of one taxpayer. That taxpayer is Bastion Solutions. We don't have an exact answer, but we have a working theory that we can share with the commission. Our working theory is that the business missed or did not receive their abatement approval last year. I don't know exactly why it wasn't approved, if it was late or if it was not filed properly. I would have to defer to somebody else on what happened last year. But last year, the deduction was 60%. And this year, the difference is roughly 62%. So pretty in line to the missed abatement collection. So it's either a misunderstanding on their part on what they're supposed to be paying, or we're not sure, but it is roughly the same as the missed amount that would have been approved otherwise last year. But other than that, everything else, as you can see, is slightly below or slightly over, but nothing that raises concern.
What do we need to do to reconcile that item, Oscar? Do we need to have Kai talk with them, or Kai usually handles the abatements?
Well, their abatement this year was filed properly, is my understanding. So this would have been for last year, which is due this year. And I don't want to speak for Kai or how this would be handled, but we just wanted to point out that that was one taxpayer that was the variance.
Okay, I think for the next meeting, if we can get a reconciliation on that, as to what actually transpired or didn't transpire.
We can look into it before
Yeah.
the meeting next month
Yep,
and
that'd
get
be
back to
great.
you.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Kai.
Yeah, yeah, this is not something that we would need to
Yeah, no,
answer
and I
today.
apologize for, speculating.
Right.
Again, that's a working theory that 60% is in line with that, but we can't speak for a taxpayer, and
Sure.
usually the county has repercussions for not paying your taxes that the city doesn't have to be involved with. So if they don't pay their taxes, they'll potentially go into a tax sale, which they'll eventually pay their taxes.
Okay, we'll look forward to getting a resolution next month then.
I guess I still have a question, though. This may be the only situation that happens like this, but is there anything documented that says, here's what the recourse for the city is when taxes are not paid?
We do have a delinquency report of individuals that haven't paid their taxes on time. We also can receive a report of appeals. Historically, there are law firms that will go to businesses like your Kohl's, your large box, and appeal. So it is more common for businesses to appeal than it is to simply not make a full tax payment, because not paying your taxes does put you at default, which could lead to a tax sale. So the more common thing that we like to track, rather than the delinquencies, which they do exist, but not as common, is appeals. But as far as what the city can do, I mean, you're talking about legal costs to go after people when the county already has a mechanism. So other than tracking it, and if it's a large enough or relationship type of thing, I think it's a policy decision, but it is not something that municipalities typically take on themselves.
I guess the obvious question then is, so Kai's going to provide some information for the next meeting?
Well, I mean, it wasn't our intent to put Kai on the spot, and he probably can't speak for a taxpayer. So our assumption is that because that's 60% short, and last year is when their abatement would have been filed, payable this year, that is the difference. So again, it's a theory. I can't say for certain that is why they only pay 60% of their tax bill. And probably not a staff conversation, but a Bastion conversation.
No, just following up on John's comment, I would like to see if we and maybe that it's in place, is there a process in place, number one, regarding the TIF funds, and number two, regarding has the company met their requirements as to what they committed to when they received the abatement in regards to number of jobs, investment dollars, whatever? And I don't know that there's a function in place to do that.
There is an annual compliance that gets filed by the employers, and it's their responsibility. Some municipalities require the employer to pay the municipality to do them, but there is a compliance that has to be filed annually.
Right.
And you probably had to reapprove a bunch of those earlier this year.
What do we call it, SB1 or something?
That's correct. And that is where you self-report. Now, I'm hoping that none of them are perjuring a document, but that is the compliance that they are indeed in line.
I hate to keep digging on this, but, so Kai, I don't know if we approved it here or if we approved it at the council meeting, but the reporting that took place right earlier in the year, each abatement, thank you. Yeah, maybe
Mr. President,
I'm getting confused here.
could we possibly table this so that my staff has a chance to review this information and come back with better information?
That's fine, yeah.
Okay. I am reluctant to be answering questions without us taking the time to look into the
We need
numbers.
to get the facts and
Yeah,
make sure we know what's in place, what's not in place.
yeah.
And
that's
again,
fine.
my apologies for bringing up an abatement as a potential cost. We just saw
That's all right.
60%, 60%, and
It's
that was
on the
working theory,
table, so we'll deal with it
we didn't mean
in
to
an
cause
appropriate
the
manner.
debate.
That's fine.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Very good. Thank you, Oscar. Is there really any action we need to take on this, Janelle? This is really more informational for us.
This is just an informational
Thank
report.
you. Next item, Executive Director Report. Janelle?
Thank you, Mr. President. And I seem to have lost my presentation, so I'm going to pull that back up. And I'm going to move to the podium, just a moment. For those who have already heard this presentation at City Council, I apologize. It is exactly the same presentation, the slides at least. My commentary might be slightly different, but I wanted to make sure that the commission had the opportunity to review the same information that was provided to council last week. This is a report of the outcomes of a study that was done by Hunden Partners and where we are headed based on the study that was presented to us. So backing up to 2007, so quite a bit before my time here for sure, Hamilton County Tourism had partnered with the city of Westfield with the vision of creating Grand Park, an exceptional sports complex, 400-acre complex. I don't know that anyone outside of Westfield quite comprehended what this would really mean for our community, but they helped with this initial study. And the outcomes of that study resulted in not only Grand Park and all the efforts to build Grand Park, but also an amendment to the comprehensive plan in 2010, which aligned the area surrounding Grand Park with a focus on sports tourism. I think that it was called the Sports Tourism Capital of the World or something. It was pretty ambitious and really something that would be quite amazing to live up to. Unfortunately, not much of what was contemplated in that original amendment to the comp plan has been incorporated into the economic development activities of the city, and we're hoping to change that. So in 2023, Hamilton County Tourism funded a study of the Grand Park area, which was completed by Hunden Partners out of Chicago, and they provided some data that I thought was just overwhelming. 5.5 million visits to Grand Park in 2023. This is individual visits. This is not unique visitors. Unique visitors is closer to about 1.3 million visits per year. The campus consists of 31 sports fields, 26 diamonds, 3 indoor facilities. And we've had this ongoing partnership with Hamilton County Tourism, not just from the study perspective, but they've also helped to fund capital improvements at the park, as well as to help us bring various events to the park. So the Hunden study really contemplated intentional planning efforts for Grand Park. This is a rendering that was put together just to give you the orientation here. We are looking west is up on this image. 186th Street is along the right side of the image. And the lake that you see down at the bottom of the image where the MKSK logo is the existing 14-acre lake that is built in Grand Park Village and is currently partially surrounded by development, including the Wyndham and some multifamily apartment buildings. So this vision, this rendering, contemplates a more dynamic, walkable community south of Grand Park. And our hope is to attract specific targeted industries. Entertainment, opportunities where people can enjoy their dining and entertainment all in one venue. The best example that I keep bringing up is medieval times. This was a concept that I became familiar with probably a couple decades ago, where you would go to this arena and you would have to eat with your hands, and it was a medieval type environment, and people were jousting out in the middle of the arena. There's that combination of you're dining together with a group of people, but you're also experiencing something unique. Unique destination retail. Agritourism, examples of agritourism currently in our Grand Park area would include Urban Apples, West Fork Whiskey. Certainly we have opportunities that we can bring in other types of agritourism into that area. Sports tech, I will be studying some similar sports tech innovation centers in central Indiana, and a design team we're working with out of Boston will hopefully be able to bring some of the information from the MIT Innovation District that they've created out there, so that we can create a really great incubator space for sports tech businesses to thrive. Family entertainment, and then hotel. Particularly recently, we've become aware of our lack of our full-service hotel opportunities. Within the last few weeks, the announcement that FIFA would be hosting practices here at Grand Park in 2026 was paired with an announcement that the hotel would be located in Carmel. They'll be using the Renaissance Hotel, because we do not have that full-service hotel here. So hoping that we can bring more of that to our community. Creating vibrant mixed-use districts, supporting hospitality and community engagement. One of the visions that I have for this area is to create an environment similar to what we see at Georgia Street, downtown Indianapolis, surrounding the convention center, where when there are big events happening, there are places for people to gather. We can have a festival-type atmosphere, and people know that it's a place for people to congregate and celebrate together. Grand Park is the largest youth sports destination in the U.S., and we need to start gaining recognition for that. So how do we get that word out? How do we communicate to the development industries, the sports tech industries, that we have this great asset and that they should become a part of it? And then become a desirable destination for brands that seek high exposure, especially in that sports area. How do we bring something like a Nike Town? We're bringing 5.5 million visits to Grand Park. I bet a lot of those people wear shoes. And if I know teenage boys, and I have a teenage boy, he loves his shoes. It seems to be a great opportunity to bring in venues like that. So Grand Park is Indiana's biggest tourism asset. Over here on the right side, there is a chart that was sourced from Placer AI. This is the most visited stadiums, arenas, convention centers, and sports complexes in the U.S. Coming in at number 16 is Grand Park Sports Campus. This is just behind Petco Park out of San Diego and United Center in Chicago. This blew me away. I couldn't believe that we were here in the top 25 list at all, but let alone they're right there with these great venues that are in these major cities. Grand Park has also been ranked as the most visited youth sports destination in the United States. ESPN Wild World of Sports is the next closest. So here's a little bit more detail of those visits to competitive national sports developments. As you can see up at the top, rank number 1 is Grand Park Sports Campus. Estimated visitation over a 5-year period, over 37 million visits. 47% of those visits come from beyond 100 miles. So this should be an opportunity for us to really create a wonderful hospitality and tourism industry here. And unfortunately, we're losing a lot of that business to surrounding communities. We don't have enough capacity for hotels locally. People are staying as far as Kokomo, West Lafayette, Lebanon, Indianapolis, and if we can keep more of those hotel stays local in Westfield, that can also help our other businesses that are supported by hospitality and tourism. So Hunden studied opportunities surrounding Grand Park for us to bring economic development to the area, and they have proposed a map of specific types of attractions that we could be bringing to our city. I'd like to point out Grand Universe is part of this plan. They have closed on land located east of the Monon, there at Tomlinson Road from 186th Street up to 191st Street. And we hope that they'll continue with their plans. Their website is really impressive. If you have a chance to take a look at what they have planned for that area, including a state-of-the-art planetarium, it's quite amazing. We also have opportunities for some destination recreational uses on the north side of 191st Street, as well as maybe a larger destination-type entertainment attraction south of 186th Street in the Wheeler Landing area. There are also priority sites that could be for walkable mixed use, for office innovation areas, and those are highlighted there in the yellow, pink, and orange. We took the area directly south of 186th Street, centered around Grand Park Boulevard, and focused on a more detailed concept plan of what could be. So this is a vision of what Grand Park Village could look like. As you can see, the 14-acre lake on the east side of Grand Park Boulevard is now connected through a canal to another lake on the west side of Grand Park Boulevard. And this would be an amenity that could be enjoyed with paddleboards or kayaks, canoes, so that people can actually interact with the water. Here in central Hamilton County, we have very little opportunity for interacting with the water. We're far enough away from the White River that that's not an opportunity. We don't have large bodies of water like Geist or Morse, no oceans, so we need to create those spaces. People are attracted to water, so this is a good opportunity for people to be in the water interacting, and then also have businesses that are along the waterfront, creating a really dynamic environment. The economic impacts that Hunden has estimated for our area have been broken down into phases of implementation that they've recommended. As you can see, phase 1, residential, we could use in this area 400 more units. This is primarily multifamily. Hotel, 150 key select service hotel. I will mention that this report was created prior to the announcement of FIFA. We believe that there is demand for more than 150 keys in the Grand Park area, and we'll be doing a deeper dive into those stats as we continue with planning. Unique retail concepts, these would be large 100,000 square foot type tenants. Again, something like a Nike Town would be a great example. Traditional retail and restaurant spaces. We're looking for experiential retail and restaurant. One item that I don't have the chart up here, but I thought was very noteworthy in the report, of the top 20 fast food restaurants that are visited before and after Grand Park games, they were all in Westfield, which is great. We're keeping all that business local. But in the list of top 20 restaurants that are sit-down restaurants that have bars or pubs or our family, sit-down service, 3 out of 20 were located here in Westfield. Some of those restaurants in the top 20 were as far as Rockville. That astounded me. I couldn't believe that a location in Rockville would show up on the list. There was one in Lebanon. So how do we bring more of that dining and experience of Grand Park tourism here? Corporate and flex and R&D, again, looking for sports tech innovation, high-tech companies, specifically synergy with Grand Park and with sports entertainment. How do we do research and development that influences wearables or nutrition for athletics, or even if you think of the logistics that are required for running tournaments in Grand Park, there's a lot of data on how you actually run the tournaments. I think that those are all good opportunities for businesses to have synergy with Grand Park. Connectivity from Grand Park Village to the Monon Trail in downtown Westfield. One of the things that we're lacking, despite the 400 acres of green space, is places for people to have self-guided recreation immediately adjacent to Grand Park. How do we create more spaces where there are playgrounds or small parks where people can sit and just enjoy some quiet time, more nature-based access to the trails, and then, of course, connectivity to surrounding communities. And then a winter park concept. There is an interesting chart that I have coming up later here in the presentation that shows our need for balancing out our visitation to Grand Park throughout the year, and that potentially putting in a 3-sheet ice facility or more, if we listen to the advice of some people who have been studying hockey opportunities here in Hamilton County, this could help balance out our tourism throughout the year. And here's the chart that I was referring to. So the top of the page here, you see Grand Park. This is our yearly visitation with spikes in the summer, and we have lower attendance during the winter. And then down at the bottom of the page, you can see the inverse curves where the fuel tank in Fishers has a lot higher visitation during the winter months and less in the summer. So our hope is if we can create some winter-themed destinations here in the Westfield area, that it will help balance out our hotel usage. It will help create more businesses for those hotels, restaurants, businesses during the winter, and then help them be staffed properly during the summer when they hit their peak demand for baseball tournament season, for example. Also, a unique opportunity to create an indoor ski slope. This is one of those opportunities to think big. If we could do anything, and we could do something really special, an indoor ski slope could be a really great attraction for Westfield. Still studying whether this is a feasible opportunity and where it could potentially be located, but it definitely looks like a lot of fun and could be a really good synergistic opportunity with the hockey facility or ice facility. The brief hotel analysis. Currently, Westfield has 4 hotels with 470 rooms. There are 800 rooms planned over the next 3 years in Hamilton County. As I mentioned previously, FIFA has consideration with the Renaissance Indianapolis Hotel North, which is in Carmel, and we're looking for opportunities where we have full service, including some traditional conference space, and maybe a smaller size convention center. So as we move forward, previously, it was either last month or the month before, we approved 2 contracts, one with Spec Dempsey and one with Hunden Partners to continue studying Grand Park and developing a master plan. Those studies are funded in large part by Hamilton County Tourism, and we are focusing on areas A and B, as you can see in the map here. And the inset, which is the same concept plan that I had just discussed a couple moments ago, is south of 186th Street. We'll also be focusing on north of 186th Street, more opportunities for bringing in sports destinations. We have this partnership with Indy 11, which we expect to continue and thrive. We also have opportunities for bringing in additional practice facilities or headquarters. And then again, creating this atmosphere, which I had mentioned previously, similar to that Georgia Street celebratory, I almost want to call it a promenade, something that leads up to the Grand Park Event Center and creates that sense of place. These are some concept images of what that district could look like. Probably not at the 6-story and above. We're probably still looking in that 3 to 5-story range for most of what we'd be developing. But the placemaking concepts, I think, are sound. Having some plazas, water features, trees, gathering places, places for people to come together as a community. And I am happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, thank you, Janelle. Any questions for Janelle from the commission members? I've previously seen it. It looks just as good the second time as it did the first time.
Thank you.
Just
One
next,
request I might make is, can we put this and link it to the agenda for tonight?
Yes, we can.
That would be great if we could do that, David. Thank you. Very
the-
nice.
The timeline slide, I just, in terms of next steps, where we're headed next.
I did go right past the timeline, didn't I? Okay,
I was
there we go.
reading it, but
Yeah. Sometimes I get excited and I just start talking and ignore the words on the page. Thank you. Thank you for bringing me back. Okay, so our timeline for this master planning, July through October, we have workshop sessions. The first one will be last week of July, first week of August. Spec Dempsey and Hunden Partners will be coming to Grand Park, and they'll be meeting with the developer groups, starting to collect some information. What components do they need to have in these developments in order to make them work? Getting feedback from Public Works and Community Development, Economic Development on what our vision is. You know, those key concepts for them to understand what it means when I say I'd like to have a Georgia Street experience. They're from Boston. They don't know what I mean by a Georgia Street experience. So we have to go through character images and talk about the feel, sense of place. And they'll spend a few days working together with us accessible for answering questions. Then they'll go back to Boston and they'll do their design work and come back to us in October with an update, and we'll do another workshop session to provide more input. Then November, they'll have a draft master plan for us to review, and our goal is by January to have a master plan complete and adopted. That master plan north of 186th Street will be incorporated into a development agreement. This will be, I would say, an auxiliary agreement to the GPSE operating agreement for Grand Park. And south of 186th Street, most of that land is owned by Henke Development Group, and it would be up to them to bring that through as a PUD amendment to Grand Park Village.
Has there been any discussion, Janelle, with Hankey Development on what you're going through here, or Old Town, or some of those that are doing some rather unique projects for us already?
We are talking with Henke Development Group. I have 38 people, I believe, included in our information gathering and planning efforts for the Grand Park Master Plan. And Henke Development Group is certainly a part of that, and they have some partners that they're not ready to share information
Sure.
about yet, who are
Understandable.
providing some details on what they envision for that plan.
Great. Okay, thank you. Great report. Thank you very much. Any questions for Janelle from commission members? If not, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda. Thank you very much. We don't have any old business. We're going to postpone the RDC budget approval to a future meeting. On new business, we have one resolution, one action item, Resolution 18-2024, a resolution of the City of Westfield Redevelopment Commission regarding grant for land acquisition. Janelle, if you can cover that for us, please.
Yes, thank you. All right, so this is, make sure that I've got the right thing here. Okay, here's our description. All right, so this is a resolution to grant money to the Community Development Corporation for a development project that would be located in the downtown area of Westfield. Roughly, let me come to the exhibit here at the end. Roughly, these are the bounds of the project, and the City of Westfield is working with a developer on assembly of property for these properties that are located along Jersey Street, as well as this property here along Mill. And we are asking for the commission to approve a grant to the Community Development Corporation so that they can negotiate and purchase these properties from the developer or landowners so that this project can be assembled and developed. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay, any questions for Janelle on this resolution? Okay, if not, I am open for a motion for approval.
make a motion to approve.
Okay, Brian Polowski, motion for approval. So I have a second.
Second.
Second by Larry. Okay, David, take the roll, please.
Joe Plankis,
Aye.
John Dart,
Aye.
Larry Kemper,
Aye.
Brian Pulaski.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Nice job again, Janelle, on explanation. Other business, the next regular meeting will be Monday, August 19th at 6 PM. Do we plan to have an executive session at that time, Janelle?
Yes, we will, we'll provide information on that executive session, and we may have one prior to then as well.
Right. Okay, very good. Any questions for Janelle? Anything else on the agenda for tonight? Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Meeting's adjourned.
Take some signatures.
Yep, stick around. Here comes paperwork man Dave.